So thanks, Paula and Tom, for your heartfelt story. I think that'll resonate with a lot of us. Thank you. And so finally, it's my pleasure to introduce Kerry Kafafian. I think that's a little redundant because most of you already know her really well, but nonetheless, Kerry is our executive director and founder for the Many Hands nonprofit. She has an IDD son, and she's been working on this project for 19 years.
Woo!
Her dedication and her perseverance has culminated in the formation of the Many Hands nonprofit, and so she is the key to our ongoing success. And now she would like to basically share with you all her vision for Many Hands.
Imagine a community where individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, their families, and their caregivers can live a whole, healthy, fulfilling life connected to other people. That's my vision for Many Hands, life-sharing community. My son Kevin, there's some photos around here you'll see. He bright red hair, smiling kid. He was 8 years old when I realized he would need care for the rest of his life. So I started researching. I started traveling around the country, seeing what options are out there. It was pretty discouraging. Except for this one I found called Camp Hill, and they use a life-sharing model. Now, I'll get back exactly what that means, but I was visiting the Camp Hill out in Pennsylvania, because it's been in Pennsylvania, New York for over 60 years. 60 years. Very successful. Proven model. It's just not very well known, this life-sharing model. Well, when I was in Kimberton Hills, I met Mary. Now Mary, she's 38, lives on this beautiful dairy farm, gorgeous, but I found out she doesn't like dirt. She doesn't like bugs. She's like, no. And I'm like, okay. But then Mary, after she was helped getting ready, she walked out the front door and down the street by herself. And I was like, wow. But she was able to do that in this community safely, where she could not do that anywhere else. So I was headed that same way, and I saw Mary turn into the community center, where there was a bakery. Mary is a baker. Just because she lives on a farm doesn't mean she has to farm. So she enjoys making bread. But the real magic happened that night when I was invited to share dinner with the rest of Mary's housemates. And as the fresh baked bread was being passed around and people were complimenting it, I saw Mary, who doesn't have very many words. First, she sat up a little straighter. Then she started to smile. And you could just see her filled with such a sense of meaning, pride. She knew she had made that bread that everyone was eating. Situations like this happen every day, all day long in a life-sharing community. And I said, this is what I want for my son. So bringing it here to Michigan, this life sharing, what makes it unique is we're planning 4 residents in the homes, and you can see that circle there, that's about 8 homes. But for the 4 residents, it turns out it takes 12 caregivers. We're talking individuals who need round-the-clock care. Now, half of those caregivers will be living in the home with the residents, sharing a life. That's where the life-sharing model comes in. Now, Paula and Tom, they talked about it some too. It is a very well-known, recognized for parents these children that you hear about with autism and other disabilities age. We all do. Their parents do. They could be in their 70s, even their 80s, still caring for their child at home. We stay up at night wondering who will look after my child when I no longer can. There's not enough options. There's not enough programs, housing, things out there. Now, one of the first questions I'm asked a lot about is staffing. We all understand what a critical, it's so important to have good staff, so hard to find. But Many Hands is designing to pull from a slightly different pool of candidates. We figure about 60% of the staff or caregivers will be young people under 30. This can be someone who is doing a gap year or AmeriCorps or a recent college graduate. And about 5 years ago, I realized that we have a crisis in America when it comes to direct care professionals. They are paid poverty wages. Their quality of life is unacceptable for the hard work they do. It is so much more skilled work. So I started looking at how can Many Hands address their needs, because I know if the caregivers are well taken care of, my son will be well cared for. So we started looking, and what's one of the number one things? Housing. Everyone has heard housing first. It is so critical and so important. Well, this life sharing model, we are providing as part of their compensation, housing. We are also providing good, healthy meals. So that's food security. We're providing outstanding benefits with zero copay for those who are living on site. Also, if we're talking about college graduates, loans. Well, I did some research, and if most of their compensation is in food and housing, their student loans could be as little as $1 a month. The key is, and we've all probably ran into it at one point in our life, you go to get a job and they're like, what experience do you have? Well, Many Hands will give them that opportunity, that deep, meaningful experience that will help their career lifelong. So we've started already talking to the University of Michigan School of Social Work, where we have in our business plan to oversee 10 interns who can get their experience here. They're also with Eastern Michigan and Washtenaw Community College. There's OT, PT, or even someone who is looking to do public health or somewhere in that area. One of my dreams is 20, 30 years from now, there's someone in Lansing or even Washington, D.C. who's making decisions based on the experience they had those couple years they were working at Many Hands. So when you talk about housing and you talk about the costs, this is a big project. There's no question about it. But those 8 homes will be providing low-income housing for 100 individuals. And a third of them, the residents, are what they now, I realize they call extreme low income. And providing that kind of additional housing is so important and so key that we are looking to partner with the government for about half of the expense. The total project is $35 million. We're doing it in stages. We're doing it in steps. But if we're able to get from the state and the federal government about half of that for the housing component, that helps us on our way. It's part of our capital stack. But the other thing we're looking at is most people don't realize there's 7,000 individuals in Washtenaw County alone with developmental disabilities. And 1,000 of those are adults who need 24-hour care. Now, we want to have this community be available and an asset for so much more than just the people living here or something like that. What we're looking at, I like to think of the mother who has a 10-year-old with autism, and we all know a 10-year-old boy and the energy, but she can't take him anywhere. She's too scared because she takes him to a park or something, and what if he has a meltdown? What if he runs off? I mean, she's scared the police might get called. If there's water nearby, how dangerous that is. Well, we have a walking trail, Path of Joy. It's 2 miles all the way around our property. And she'd be welcome to come on site. And if something happens, she's at a place where it's understood. We get it. We understand. We support. And that she would be welcomed here. We also are looking at having a meeting space, cafe. It was important to be on a busy road. You know, we're 1 mile from Dexter, 10 minutes from downtown Ann Arbor. That was key. This property was waiting for us. It was waiting for many hands. Because we want people to stop in, maybe get a coffee, get a baked good, and we're going to have a trailhead where people can park and they can walk, not just our trails, but, you know, Scioto Township's also looking to purchase the property line, kind of a strip to the north of here, where they're going to be putting in eventually a large, like the border-to-border type walking trail. They'll take that subdivision all the way to Mill Creek. So everything we're doing in a way that it's to help the whole area, Dexter, Washtenaw County, state of Michigan. And that starts with the Activity Center. The Activity Center is the first building we're going to build. And it will be, again, there'll be activities during the day for people to come, and it's not necessarily someone who's living here, but it's other people like ICW is another community nearby that may have people come over, visit. But all of this, the housing, the activity center, we need to buy the land. And as it was mentioned, we have an angel donor who's put up a challenge grant. It is a matching grant of $1.7 million so that we can buy the land. Very generous. But we need to raise 1.7. Now we've raised over 700,000, so we're on our way. Our goal is to raise the additional $1 million this year, because once we close on the land, I mean, watch out, things are really going to start happening then. So that's our immediate first step goal. Then once we've purchased the land, we're now looking at doing infrastructure and building homes, and that's about another 10 million, that first phase of our project. But owning the land is the most important, and that's the piece we're starting with now. Now, I have given you a pretty brief overview. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of questions. I love giving tours of the land, a personal tour. So my question to you is, do you want to know more? Yes. Yes. So we will be following up with you and setting up appointments so that we can talk in ways that you'll be able to support or help move our vision forward. And like I said, if you want a detailed personal tour of the land, we even have sign-ups out front for that if you're interested. But again, thank you, and thank everybody who has been so supportive and so helpful making this happen. We have a goal in sight to raise that $1 million by the end of this year. Thank you.